this year to go fully open again too. The other thing that we've been doing, we have a few projects going on that's happened is, if you've driven by there lately, you'll notice that the slides, they were repainted earlier this spring, so they look good. They have a fresh coat of paint. We also needed to replace the netting that is between the ball fields from South Suburban and Pirates Cove. That's just a safety factor, so balls don't end up hitting the guests coming into Pirates Cove. We are also rejuvenating the play structure. Will be 18 years old, so we're redoing a couple of the slides on there, and then also we're replacing some of the pieces. The pieces way back when we bought the play structure, it was nice, and one of the reasons we selected that one was because that the interactive features could be changed out if needed, if you wanted to do that. So a couple of them were kind of outdated and weren't really working, so we're doing that one. We're on the slate for next year or this fall. We will be repainting the play structure, or we will be wrapping it. And part of the thing is I looked at a lot of next play structures that are out there, and none of them are just the size that we have. And I just was disappointed in some of the designs and stuff with them. So I elected to just go ahead and we will just rejuvenate it. And I think it'll keep our guests a lot happier than what we would if we replaced that whole play structure. All three bodies of water have got, all pools have got water in them, and it's holding water, which is a good thing for us. We like that one. They're all circulating. They're all heating at this point. So they're about ready to go. We're just finishing touches with those and just polishing off. So we'll be ready to open. And as you know, or you should know, that we open in 15 days. So just orientation is a week from Saturday and Sunday. So the staff are all hired. You may have seen in the news or whatever that there is a lifeguard shortage, or there's a big news item out there that staffing is just very difficult. We're fortunate at Pirates Cove that we are fully staffed. In fact, we pulled down the lifeguard applications off of the website. We have a total of 94 lifeguards at this point. I would love 125, but we've managed with as low as 70 of them. So we feel really good about that 95. So classes, we're going to be happy to have learn to swim classes, and Jim Woodward's favorite deep water class will be back this summer. So I expect to see you out there, Jim. That's on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8:30 to 9:30. So that's the biggest part. If there are a couple minor changes that we carried over from what we learned in COVID. Number one is we're not allowing guests to enter and exit the park. Once you're in the park, we expect them to stay. Now, if there's an emergency or something, we will definitely work with that guest and make sure that they can do that. The other thing is no food or drink will be allowed in the park. You can take a water bottle in there, but we're not allowing food to come in there. So that is one minor change that we did in there too. So with that, is there any questions that anybody has for me?
So regarding food, the concessions will be as they generally are,
Yes, concession stand will be open. So we will have all the items that we normally had: hamburgers, hot dogs, pizza, which is our specialty there too. And then also nachos and ice cream and French fries and a lot of things too. What we've done is worked with the day camp groups to come to Pirates Cove. And we actually have offered them a special pricing for the day camps to come in. We'll offer them that if they have sack lunches and come in, we told them that they'll be able to go down to Bellevue Park and utilize the park for lunch, and then they will be allowed back in also. So that's a special thing that we do with the day camp groups, and they actually very positive feedback from them. I mean, the meal is like $5 and they get a hot dog, hamburger, chicken strips, and they get a bag of chips and they get a drink for $5. So pretty reasonable. Great question. Thanks, Mark.
Jim, I see your hands up.
Yes. Couple things. I'm really glad to hear the deep water is going to be, because I do intend to participate in that this year.
Good.
Also, do you need anybody to try out the water to make sure the temperature's right or anything?
Yeah, you want to come down?
I think there's some volunteers right here. Yeah.
I see that. Yeah, we can arrange that. If you want to contact me, definitely we can make arrangements for you to stick a toe in or a little bit more with that one. Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah, I was thinking about a little bit more than the toe.
Were you 2 toes?
Both toes.
Yeah, just let me know, Jim, stop by or whatever, or Christine, if you guys want to stop by and you want to take a quick dip, definitely the comp pool is definitely all ready to go because we've been doing lifeguard training in that pool. So definitely.
Great.
Can I see your hands up?
What was the impetus for the new food policy? As a member of council, I can anticipate getting some not so friendly inquiries about that. So I'd like to know more specifically why that was changed.
Yeah, there was a couple things. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we were running into, number was trash collection. And as far as that, was the cleanliness of the park. We noticed when people were bringing in food and stuff that there was a lot of trash left around the areas, and also power washing the deck was taking up a lot of time too for the staff to prep it. So that had the biggest impetus that we had as far as making that decision. And the other one is just, we were going with the COVID guidelines where we weren't allowing anything in. So we thought that moving this transition into this year, that it would be an easy transition to do that one. So that's really the biggest point, Steve. Thanks.
Thank you.
So is that envisioned as a 1 year change as we transition out of COVID, or a permanent change?
We evaluate the overall operation of the pool every single year as far as the operations and stuff. So we're taking it 1 year at a time. If it comes into a situation too that maybe the concession stand can't handle the impact that we're getting as far as food preparation, and then we can relax that a little bit too. So we're going to take this first year, and if we are successful with that one, and if complaints aren't really large, then what we'll do is we'll try to extend that a little bit more. And the other thing too, and in the background, when we start and think about it too, we're talking about revenue also. So that allows us to generate more revenue for the park and for the city by doing away with that. And most parks don't allow food like that. Most water parks don't. So we're just going in line with other facilities.
Monica, I see your hands up.
I'm just kind of thinking to myself, you mentioned that you were letting certain groups go to Bellevue Park if they want to bring a sack lunch. And I wonder if that would alleviate like having that policy for everyone if you continue to do this with concessions only, perhaps letting people leave and come back for lunch might alleviate some of the congestion because it gets so packed in there. I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about it, but just thought.
Yeah, correct. And
Yeah.
if someone approaches it with that one, we're going to be flexible with that. One of the problems that we've noticed the last few years pre-COVID is that when a lot of times we found adults going out to their car and they started consuming alcohol in the parking lot. And so they would come back and they're making, quite a few trips back and forth. It's kind of like, wait, you took that water bottle out empty and now it's full. So that's another issue why we decided to start looking into those situations. But yeah, we'll be flexible. And if a group comes in with a sack lunch or they have that in the car and they want to take it, we'll definitely adhere to them. We'll work with them for sure.
Any other questions, Brad? Okay, well, thank you, Brad, for joining us and presenting that information.
You're welcome. And sorry my video wasn't there. The feed didn't come up, but
Maybe
just
next
stop by
time.
the park, you can see me.
And Debbie, if you'll help me out once again with the agenda, we'll move on to the next item. And Paul, by the way, if you can hear me, don't let me forget to give you to check in with you before we finish up and move to staff's choice. Okay. And if you have some comments you'd like to make, we can accommodate them then, I think. Okay. So this leads to Christina's budget review.
Yeah, I'd be happy to show you really quick, just a high level overview of our capital budget. So if Debbie, you don't mind stop sharing, I'll share mine real quick. Not much has changed from last year to this year. Hopefully you can see that. But I'm just going to go very quickly through these. You'll see it's very similar to year after year. We have the conservation trust funds. This gives you how much money that we actually have in the budget of the 2 million. We've designated funds of 1.6 million with a $500,000 left. And it is funded by the lottery. And this rolls over year after year after year. So even though we've dedicated these funds that are listed here, each of the projects, we may not use all of them. And so it rolls over and we're able to accumulate those funds year after year. And if we have a special project or something we want to address, we can reallocate within this conservation trust fund. We were asked to rank the projects tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. However, for the conservation trust and for the open space and golf course fund, it doesn't really apply as much because these are dedicated to parks and recreation. But I won't go through all of these. We'll send this out to you all once this is closer to finalized. We're still working with our finance team on it. So this is the Conservation Trust Fund. The next one is the Open Space Fund, and that is funded through Arapahoe County. So you can see here the funding that we have. We have $1 million still left after we've appropriated some of these funds for projects. This is a list of projects that we have. The one that I like to show is the Parks Maintenance Employee Compensation. We got some questions from council as well as the Planning and Zoning Commission of how can you fund that out of a capital program, but ultimately it's allowed out of Arapahoe County open space. We're able to fund personnel that's related to parks to perform maintenance activities. So that's the open space fund. And then golf course, we're actually spending some good money this year. We've been saving up for a while for the irrigation system. So we're pretty close at draining this, but it's needed. So I'll show you here. Golf carts is an annual thing that the golf course replaces 12 carts annually, gets rid of the crummy ones that aren't working as well. The irrigation replacement of the back 9 is a big dollar item on this, but it's 30 years old and needed. I think it'll be much more efficient. Our water use will be better. And so that's our project for 2022. It's in design currently. Actually, I believe it's getting finalized here shortly. So we'll be ready to hit the ground running soon. And then as far as operating equipment, this covers lawn mowers for the course. So getting some new mowers out there. And then we have a couple others that we have to compete for. One is the public improvement fund. We have the parking lot maintenance for the rec center and parks. It's in this. Planning and zoning did push this project forward, so that'll go before council. Council could reallocate funding and it may not be funded, but as of right now, it's in the program. And then we've got one more here. And then in the capital projects, we've got art in public places, the 1%. And that's funded annually out of capital projects. And that goes for the Cultural Arts Commission to purchase and maintain, as well as put on or help support events on the cultural side. And then the other big program that you may see around town, and Dave will probably talk about it, is the Emerald Ash Borer. We have started wrapping ash trees with marketing material so people know what an ash tree looks like. And so if they have one in their home, they're educated on how to manage that. So this is just a very quick high-level overview. Not much has changed year after year for this, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Hey, Christina, on that last slide, was I seeing a right of the Emerald Ash Borer? Was that an extra 0 in there?
Yeah, this is a presentation
Okay.
that was given to council. I didn't have the updated one. It's
Okay, I thought I was like, that's a 10 times fold in 5 years. I guess we got some high expectations, but okay, just making sure.
And just to make a quick comment too, our plan is to actually allocate some of these funds for a grant program that'll be offered to our residents to help them with their ash trees. So this won't all go to city parks and right-of-ways. This is also going to help our residents out where we can.
I was salivating over that last 2026 $500,000 as well. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
And I just want to thank you, Christina, for taking into consideration residents who are going to need assistance with their ash trees. It's just such an expense and such an equity issue, I think, for Englewood. And so I know I mentioned that a long time ago, but I really appreciate you pushing that forward and making that a priority.
Yeah, and we'll continue to share some new information. Dave has some really great ideas for new programming. And so as we get deeper into the budget. The budget's just barely opening up now, so we're just getting our feet wet. But we'll bring some more items to you that I think hopefully you'll approve and like where we're headed with, and it'll help our residents out and our tree canopy out overall.
Monica, you seem to have a question.
Not a question really, but I'm on the CEAC, on the Code Enforcement Committee. I'm helping with I do the communications with them on that. And Christina, that's fantastic that we're going to be helping residents. So I'd like to learn more about that so we can, as it goes forward, we can put that in the communications plan that we've set in motion. Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Christina? Christina, I think the next item was about our meetings in parks.
Yep.
Where we stand on that.
So Monday night, council will be discussing about going back to in-person meetings. And I know we've discussed as the commission about meeting outside in the park. So whether or not council decides to go back or not, because we're choosing to meet outdoors and there's changes with going to all clear or level clear. If you guys want to meet outside, the plan for June could be to meet at Romans Park so you can see the renovations firsthand, what's going on out there. Unfortunately, I'm going to be back in Phoenix and won't be able to attend, but Dave will cover it and he's overseeing those renovations. So you get a tour of the park and an overview of the renovation project. So, and then we can discuss at that meeting next steps. I mean, we could spend the whole summer meeting outdoors if you like. The weather's beautiful. So that's all up to you on how you want to manage that and what you're up for. So we wouldn't be able to do a hybrid meeting if we meet in the parks. So that's one challenge if there's individuals on the commission that can't meet in person due to being out of town, and you can still attend virtually, but obviously you can't come out in person. So it's one thing to consider. We want to make sure we have quorum and all of that, but something for you all to discuss.
I think that sounds like a great idea. I might actually also be out of town that meeting. I need to look at my calendar, but is that what is everyone's thoughts about? I mean, I think going to look at the project work there is a great idea.
I'm definitely supportive of meeting at Romans Park in June and then doing summer meetings outdoors in person altogether. I'm comfortable with it, so as long as everyone else is, I think it sounds great.
Yep, Christina, I see your thumb. Karen, I see your hand.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm absolutely for meeting in the parks and seeing what's going on.
Does anyone have a concern about doing it that way? It sounds like generally it's a cool idea. I do get the idea that you can't do a hybrid outside in a place without connectivity, but I think summer is neat.
I'm happy to go, but I'm going to have a 6-month-old with me. So as long as that's allowed, I am perfectly happy to meet up.
Yeah, I think children are allowed in parks.
He's a guest.
We have a playground for him.
We can find you one of the little safety swing. It'd be cool.
You know, I think.
Well, let's make that the tentative plan. That sounds like a good arrangement to try to get out and see the parks again and see everybody in person if we can do it.
Excellent. Okay, so 5:30 Romans Park, June. What is that? June 10th. Yeah. So, oh wait, yeah, that's right, June 10th. I can't believe.
Yeah, Christina, is that next meeting? The only concern you might have is that if that's going to be the full post off-leash dog park discussion, that might be a pretty long meeting. That'd be the only other concern for that particular June, because that's the day after I think we have our last task force meeting, right?
Correct.
Well, maybe we can look at the agenda items, and if there's, I think that we probably, if we're expecting a whole bunch of folks to join a meeting, maybe we could schedule that for the digital meetings, I think have gotten better attendance by those kinds of folks than we used to get in the in-person meetings. So I don't know. I guess we can look at the timing of that, but that's a good point, Steve. Okay. I think it leads us back to old business. Debbie, could you, there we go. Thank you again.
So it looks like I'm up again. So just to note,
Yep.
we did take the POCO survey to the April 26th council meeting. And there was good discussion about kind of next steps. And we determined to bring the task force back on June 9th. We'll be meeting at 5:30 virtually. So that's you can definitely log in and watch that task force meeting if you're not on it. And the goal of the meeting will be to come up with final recommendations to go back to council in July. So one thought could be is we're hoping it's going to only be one meeting with the task force. The goal is not to go back in time and discuss all the issues because that's already happened over the last 5 task force meetings last year, and just move forward based off survey results. Dave, myself, and other staff are working on putting a presentation together based off some ideas that we've been discussing with Jason Park, as well as fencing options. And so we'll have it laid out in a presentation to hopefully help the task force come to a decision, but we're also looking for feedback from the task force members. The goal is to send that presentation out to the task force a week ahead of time to give them a chance to review it and think about it and look back at the survey results and come prepared to the meeting. So Steve Charbonneau, who is with Find Solutions, will be in attendance to mediate the task force meeting. And then, like I said, I'll plan on taking it to council later in July. That way we can put it in front of all of you in early July. And that might be a chance for the public then to come also and give comment to that July meeting. So maybe July's meeting's not at a park, it's virtual again. To allow that. If council does decide to go back in person, that's a discussion you all can have. If you want to go to in-person meetings or if you want to stay virtual as well, we have that option now to do so. So Councilmember Ward, we just have to present it to him and he can give the yay or nay if you want to stay hybrid for public meetings or whatnot. So that's where the off-leash task force is headed. We're maybe getting closer to having some final results and implementing a new program. My recommendation is not to do any changes until January to give January 2020 to give our staff a chance to implement whatever that program's going to be. So signage, fencing, education, all of that. Any questions?
Monica, I see your hand.
On the survey, licensing was a topic. Is that going to come up again in this commission meeting? Do you think?
Can, yeah, that's a conversation we'll have with the task force. And I believe we're headed in that direction. I think there's a lot of reasons to license dogs, lost dogs. It's good to have a license so we can return them home, not just off leash. So the task force will have a discussion on that. Code enforcement will be heavily involved since they run the ranger program, and the ranger's ultimately going to have to implement that. So they'll be involved in what that's going to look like, and they'll be the ones that'll put that program on. So yeah, there's still more discussion to have on the licensing. Boulder has an excellent licensing program with a whole education component, and we're leaning that way. I think education's the biggest piece that's going to help us all out in the long run.
I agree. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Christina about that? If not, we can move on to park improvements.
So I'll give a quick update and then turn it over to Dave for his improvements. So we're slightly delayed on getting our contract in place for the 3 park renovations, Baker, Cushing, and Centennial on May 17th. So Monday night, we're going to council. The bids came in higher than expected. So $2.9 million was the final cost, and the company we'd like to go with was higher, but we think we're going to get the best value for what we're doing. And so we've talked to you about approving the park slew and fee, using some funds out of that, as well as that Scott property that's been sitting and not being used for many years, those funds. And so we'll present that to council as a resolution. If passed, we'll then take the contract to council on June 7th. If that's approved, then we'll hit the ground running. And we're probably not going to have a public meeting at every park, but the one that I know we want to have a public meeting for is the skate park. We'd like to have a lot of feedback from the skating community of what they'd like to see and how that design is going to go. And so we'll make sure you all are in the mix and know what the schedule looks like for those public meetings. It's possible, depending on timeline, we could do the public meeting at Cushing Park as part of one of these meetings, but we'll see. We'll keep you all updated. We've got to get the contracts approved and the funding approved, and then we can hit the ground running. Any questions on that?
You know, I wonder if we could have maybe like an August meeting at Baker Park for the same reason.
Sure.
Get a community input, because I think the people up there would really appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll definitely consider that, Jim, and it's gonna come down to timelines of construction. Here in Colorado, we have a short timeline to get things done. So I think that's a good idea. And well, when we get the contract approved, we'll start having those meetings of schedule. So good idea.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Christina about that, or Dave?
Dave will give an update on, you want to give an update on Romans and Jason?
Yes, I was just waiting for Mark there.
Yep.
Just to update everybody on Romans, the tennis courts are open and being used. We've moved all the construction further west. The crews are working on the sidewalks over there. We've had a little bit of a hiccup or a challenge around a large silver maple out there. I wanted to make sure that the tree remains healthy and stable. So we've had to make some change orders in that area. The outdoor fitness equipment is in place, but not usable yet because it's still in the construction zone. Today, crews were putting in the slackline poles, so those are almost done as well. The old restroom was demolished today, so that's a big change. We've got a lot of dirt stockpiled out there. That's going to go to the golf course for some of the needs that they have. And let's see what else is going on out there. I think that's really about it. We have the shelter is ready to be placed in. I think we're waiting on a permit for that. The restroom is ready and available, so we're waiting for permits there as well, along with plumbing and electrical work that has to take place before the restroom can be shipped out. So that's really about it there. As far as Jason goes, we had applied for the grant for the shelter and the restroom there. I think everybody remembers that. Lindsay put a great PowerPoint together because the commissioners or the OSTAB board could not meet out there to review the project or any other grant project this year due to COVID. So she put a very nice PowerPoint together. The board will look at that as well as all the other projects. They're encouraged to visit each project individually, not as a group. Once they do that, they'll get together, score all of the grants, and then provide recommendations to the county commissioners and the OSTAB board itself. Once all of that's done, the board will vote on it, and then announcements will be made probably mid-July. So we'll know in mid-July whether we're successful for Jason. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Christine, I see your hand up.
Sorry, guys, I'm just gonna keep talking tonight. I just had a question about the mushrooms. I know that's always like a topic of conversation about how we're painting the mushrooms or what we're gonna do. Are there any plans for that? Just so when people ask me, I can say yes or no or something in between.
We're getting the mushrooms first off repaired. That's due to take place late this month into early June. Once that's done, and it's a stucco company that's doing it, they recommended a good 3 coats on top of the mushrooms to keep from further water damage. So we're going to need to do that regardless. And I believe park staff is probably going to end up having to do that just because it's not easy to get up on top of one of those mushrooms to paint them. So we'll do the primer coats, and from there, I'm not sure, maybe Debbie or Christina can answer whether Cultural Arts is going to do that, where we may want to entertain again the high schools, the art teachers, to help with that project of painting some of them, all of them. I don't know at this point.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, and I'll just add, in the Cultural Arts Commission did budget to apply art to maybe 2 of the mushrooms out there. It just kind of depends on what quotes come in, but they did discuss using the school again to do something. I think the biggest concern we have is the top of the mushrooms and getting art up there. So that is on the CAC's list of items to address this year.
Okay, any other questions for Dave?
Dave, on the fencing over at Jason, will that be coming down after you do the pavement in the parking lot, or when does that come down?
Well, I was going to cover that under staff choice, but
Oh,
since you're
okay.
asking the question, I'll answer it now. That parking lot is due to be paved this weekend. And once that's done, we'd like to look at possibly opening up the park mid next week. All depends on weather and whether they can get the parking lot completed. We're due for some rain this weekend as well, so we'll have to see. But that's our plan.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else for Dave? Okay, before we go to staff's choice, I want to check in and see if Paul's still on the line, or anyone else has joined us as a guest and has anything to add or ask.
Hello, Mark. Yeah.
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, Jim stole my stole my question. I was going to ask Dave about the fence at Jason Park, but and yeah, I had spaced out about the park. I had spaced out about the parking lot being repaved too. But yeah, that was about it. Unless somebody has any questions for me.
Anything for Paul? No, thanks. Thanks for joining us again, Paul. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
And unless you've got anything else that you want to add, then I think we can move to staff's choice.
I just have one update, and that's regarding COVID and mask mandates.
Sure.
Our facilities are obviously opening further, and the mask mandate's a little confusing right now. And so our attorneys today advised to keep the mask mandate in place until later next week at our facilities. I know our staff on the front lines were very concerned. Everybody's being very cautious still with COVID cases active in our community. And so you do have to still wear a mask if you come to the library or go to the recreation centers. The tricky piece is it says that I think it's if 80% or more, over 10 people are vaccinated. It's not a question we're going to ask. So I don't know how you control that in a public setting. So we're just going to play on the safe side until we get further direction from our legal team. So if you go to any of the centers of the library, keep your mask on for now. That's all I've got. Thanks, guys.
Okay, Dave, do you have anything else for us?
Yeah, sure do. I wanted to start off, since we got on the subject of emerald ash borer, part of my plan through the budget process and with the capital dollars, 50,000 being allocated every year, a number of years ago, we lost our community forestry program. And I think this is now a good time to bring it back because I do believe the citizens of Englewood are going to need some support once emerald ash borer arrives here. So that's what we intend to do with some of those funds, along with protecting the trees that are worth saving, the ash trees that are worth saving in our parks. I think we can accomplish both of those things. Along with the parking lot resurface, I did want to announce that Canine Corral will be getting a resurface, and Colorado's Finest. The parking lot on the south side is ours to maintain, where the pickleball courts are and the basketball court. So those will all be done here very soon. We talked about Jason fence removal. We also put in a pollinator garden. I do believe I had mentioned this in a prior meeting. That was all put in, I think, a week or so ago. We had a number of volunteers out there, and we've had a lot of feedback regarding the pollinator garden that we put in over at the depot. It's our goal to continue that with the help of volunteers. We certainly can't manage all of that. Park staff doesn't have the expertise. We also want to create some educational opportunities, and I think one of the first ones that we would like to do is with Bishop Elementary over there. So a lot of feedback has come in to Sean, to Christina, to myself on what it means to a lot of volunteers and the citizens over in that area. So I wanted to make everybody aware of that. And because of that, we also are looking to apply to become a Bee City USA city, very similar to the Tree City USA, which we're a member of 36 years in a row. So I'm going to have staff make that application. And so it's our hope to become a Bee City sometime this year. And that's all that I have, unless people have questions.
Dave, I have a suggestion, and Paul kind of addressed it when he mentioned the Jason Park and the parking lots. I noticed it was maybe a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, that the city did a POA on, or PSA on next door. And I think there was some responses to that. And this weekend, like tomorrow, would be a really good time to hit next door again with that announcement. So people, certainly for Canine Corral, know it.
We've placed notification at all 3 locations saying that it's not going to be available. And the plan was to get the word out on a Walter Wednesday and make that announcement next week. If you're aware of Walter, he's our Labradoodle, and he presents a public service message weekly to the citizens of Englewood. So that was part of the announcement, or the plan.
I thought you said it was going to be done this weekend.
Well, it's going to be done this weekend, but we'll make the announcement that it is done and that the fencing will be coming down on
Yeah,
this.
no, I didn't mean announce it that it's coming down or anything. I mentioned, or what I was thinking was announcing that the parking lot won't be available because of the work that's being done.
We've already posted signage out there for all 3 of the areas, so people will know not to park there. And I think that's probably even why Paul had mentioned it as well. We had to do that in advance, particularly at places like Canine Corral and Colorado's Finest. There are a number of people that park over at Colorado's Finest from the apartment complex, as well as teachers and students. So that was one of the hurdles that we had to go through, but we worked things out, and we'll have access to all 3 of those lots for the paving and striping.
Okay, great.
Any other questions for Dave? Okay, well, Lindsay, do you have anything for us? And Dave, I assume that was your last item. Sorry if I'm wrong about that.
I do not have anything else unless there's any questions for me.
I don't see any hands. So Brad, anything else from you?
Yeah, I just got one minor thing that, so everybody knows that May is National Water Safety Month. So we are posting on the Pirates Cove Instagram page and also on the Pirates Cove Facebook page that there's water safety tips that go up every day. So they will continue all the way through the end of May. And the governor of Colorado did sign a proclamation designating that this is Water Safety Month as well. We supported that and actually turned that into the state too in conjunction with World Water Park Association.
Okay, thanks. Any questions for Brad about that? All right, well then we can go to Commissioner's Choice, and Karen, you're at the top left of my grid, so you can go first.
I have nothing at this point. Just want everybody to know though, when you're talking about doing away with the masks, there are still some studies that show that we may be doing this off and on during the year for quite some time to come, like the next couple of years. So
don't get too excited.
Don't get too excited yet, guys.
Okay. Thanks, Karen. Jim, what do you have for us?
I don't have anything, I don't think.
Okay.
Thanks.
Did you say me?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't worry, Karen. I'm freaked out about not wearing a mask at this point. So it's just going to be a standard. Again, I have something to say. Sorry, y'all. I just wanted to welcome Steve. I was gone last month, but I'm really excited to have you as our council representative. I know that we are not unique. I'm just getting on my platform here. We are not unique in saying that we are council representatives. And I think there are multiple boards and commissions who feel like their message is not getting back to council. And I am just so excited to have you on our commission because I know that that's not going to be the case with you. And I know that you care deeply about Parks and Recreation. And so I'm just thrilled to see your face today and to actually see you again for the first time. But welcome, thank you for joining our group, and thank you for advocating for us because we are your representative and we want to serve you well. So thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Well, Steve, then, do you have anything for us or messages from council or anything like that?
Just briefly, I've sort of found myself abruptly neck deep in the debate over dogs in the city. So I have great empathy for the journey that this committee has had over the past year or two dealing with that. I recently did a meeting with some community members in one of our parks, and there were constituencies from both sides present, and there were a couple of moments when it hazard becoming contentious. So thanks for everything this committee's done on that issue so far, the extensive study and committee meetings. And I hope to see some policy come forward that is workable for everyone in the near future. And I'm happy to be a part of that as well.
Appreciate that, Steve. If nothing else, then Monica.
I didn't have anything until Steve just mentioned that. As you know, I'm on two committees that kind of overlap, and this dog thing really can be contentious. And I just wanted to, since this is a public forum, just give a little support to our new park ranger, who's working really hard on building bridges in the community, and she's pretty great. And I was pretty disappointed to see a video that was posted where some folks were not that respectful to her. But I just want to take a moment to appreciate the good work that she is doing and the community outreach with kids that she's planning on doing. And I just think it's such a great thing for our parks, and anything we all can do to support that, I think, is going to be really important as voices in the community.
Thanks, Monica. Kate.
I don't have anything tonight. Excited to see you all in person in June.
That'll be fun. Steve, our other Steve now.
I'm good. I welcome Mr. Ward to you'll see some more enjoyment if you join the task force meeting in June to see the final fireworks. So we appreciate you being here. On that subject, really quick, we just appreciate that whatever decision that comes through, that council makes a decision. That's what we, regardless of what comes out of it, we gave our recommendations. We've had input from everyone. We just would rather not see the can kicked down the road. If a decision is made one way or the other, we will support it, whatever happens. That's all we want. But otherwise, I'm good.
Yeah, just so you know, I'm sensitive to that as well. At some point, the time to talk finishes and it's time to do something or not do something and just close the issue. So
Appreciate it. Gary, got anything for us?
Nothing from me, Mark.
All right.
Looking forward to you guys all
Yep.
soon.
Hey, Mark, I do have one other thing that I need to address with the commission. I'd forgotten on the Bee City USA, we need a standing committee in order to be eligible. And if nobody has any concerns, I'm going to name our committee the Parks and Rec Commission. We have to have a public committee.
That seems, I don't know who else you would look to in terms of public committees that are already standing. So that seems reasonable. Yeah.
You guys do the same thing for Tree City USA.
Yeah.
You're our citizen committee. So I just wanted to, as long as nobody has any issues with that, that's what I'm going to do, is say our committee is the Parks and Rec Commission.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I think that's everyone. Does anyone else have anything? I wasn't sure if Gary got cut off a little bit there, but I think you said you didn't. Okay, you're good. Does anyone else have anything? If not, meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Have a
next
good
month.
night. Have a good
Night.
weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
You guys are delightful.